So to begin with my film adaptation, I would try and use a lot directly from the source. I think that I will also probably pull a lot from Yeats's film adaptation, but I will try and maybe modernize it a bit, as well as using longer shots in the intro scenes to kind of build that tension that leads to the pivotal moment in the second act. For the opening, we will open on a shot of children playing tag, while some stop and collect rocks. They seem very happy, very carefree. There's nothing wrong in this situation. It's a long shot that shows the setting of a park, along with several adults milling around. More adults join in, and the shot pans out to show the crowd gathering. We can see a middle-aged man grilling hot dogs, chatting with another man. Women are gossiping in groups. It's very casual, almost like you would see at a homeowners association meeting. I think that the park will resonate more with young adults in the 21st century because they are perhaps more used to a suburban setting rather than a small town as portrayed in both the film adaptation as well as the story. So slowly they start to quiet down as an older man steps into the center of the semicircle. We later reveal that this is Mr. Summers through dialogue. They've unconsciously created this semicircle, like it's second nature. We know from the source text that they do this just about every year, so they're all kind of used to the traditions at this point. They hush up as Mr. Summers begins the ceremony. He describes the lottery and goes through with the formalities of describing what would happen. They all already know this. They're kind of having their own sidebar conversations, not fully paying attention. Then a middle-aged woman, later revealed to be Mrs. Hutchinson, rushes up to the circle. Several people turn around and greet her, commenting on how late she is. She mentions dishes and has a small conversation with women about their children. In this adaptation, I would really like to put an emphasis on her relationship with the townspeople. I feel like that could be an interesting perspective, showing that there was no disdain for her before all of this happened. She spots her family and rushes off to stand with them, the crowd parting and letting a hushed chuckle out. Mr. Summers in the center welcomes her and makes a joke about her tardiness, again just emphasizing that friendly relationship. The lottery begins, and there is a sidebar conversation about other towns and how they stopped doing the lottery. An old man Warner, pipes up, angrily commenting on how it was back in his day and complaining about the changes that have happened. The group agrees that it would be a bad idea to change. This is how it has always been. Whether this is stated to placate him or whether they truly agree is kind of left to the audience to decide. In this conversation, there is also talk of Mr. Summers and wanting to change the box, how he makes conversation with people when they come up, and all that sort of thing that is used in the original text. The lottery ends, and Mrs. Hutchinson's husband, Mr. Hutchinson, has pulled out a slip of paper with a dot. This is demonstrated through a somewhat dramatic scene where everyone in the town holds up their piece of paper to kind of show it to the rest of the town to prove that they don't have a dot. So by this point, Mr. Summers has already described the lottery, and we're clear on that. She lets out a cry and shouts her complaints. Mr. Summers did not shake the box enough. He rushed him, all that sort of thing. Everyone in the crowd gets increasingly uncomfortable and looks at her kind of awkwardly, telling her to be a good sport about it. She knew what she was getting into, all of that. She carries on, and her shouts get increasingly louder until Mr. Hutchinson tells her to shut up. She's silent after this. She goes kind of limp. Her face is very solemn. She and her family put slips into the box, and after the box has been thoroughly mixed, they each pull a slip out. She and her family each quietly open the slips, and mirroring what they had done earlier, they show the crowd. Mrs. Hutchinson has the dotted slip. She lets out another shriek and demands to redo the event. mimicking, again, some of her complaints that it wasn't shaken enough, that she was rushed, all of this. The town begins to gather the stones the children brought from earlier, and someone gives her son a stone. She keeps screaming, trying to get away from the crowd. She demands that it's unfair, and they begin to stone her to death. So to kind of go into some of my choices here for the setting, I would like to emphasize a suburban setting just to show that this isn't just a small town thing. This is everywhere. The themes of this story apply to the whole world. I think it would resonate with the audience more. I think a lot of people these days don't grow up necessarily in a rural town that maybe has a town square or something similar, so I think this would resonate more. As for casting, I really picked 3 big player characters that I think need to be emphasized in the story. Mrs. Hutchinson, I think, would be Paula Malcolmson, who is also Katniss Everdeen's mother in the Hunger Games film adaptation, and I think she did a really good portrayal of kind of just that fear that comes with this sort of thing, and it is a very similar setting with the lottery. For Mr. Summers, I would do Kurtwood Smith. I think that he just kind of has that look about him. He has maybe kind of a fatherly face, which is kind of described in the story. And then for Old Man Warner, I believe the late Roberts Blossom would be an amazing fit for this character. I think his look really fits what I imagine in my head to be what Old Man Warner would look like. So that is my film adaptation. Thank you.